Hemingway started every morning before the light changed, standing at a chest-high bookshelf, writing until he hit 500 words. Then he stopped, specifically when he knew what came next. He tracked the count on a hand-drawn chart pinned to the wall. That image, a paper chart, a number, a man standing, turns out to be half the picture. The half that gets left out is the reason most people writing 2,000 words a day are writing into a drawer. Every name worth studying runs two stacks simultaneously: the work and the release of the work into the world. Hemingway spent his afternoons fishing or drinking. He sat for staged photo shoots with his boat and his marlin. He filed an Esquire essay roughly every month from 1933 to 1936. He gave the Paris Review its most famous interview in 1958, and that single conversation locked in the writer as craftsman myth for the next half-century. Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck, the same Levi's 501s, the same New Balance 991s every day. He held meetings on long walks instead of in conference rooms. He rehearsed every keynote for weeks before delivery. He granted interviews sparingly and only to 3 or 4 chosen reporters. Then, in 2005, he stood at a Stanford podium and gave the commencement address that became the most watched of all time. Warren Buffett spends 5 to 6 hours a day reading. He drinks 5 Coca-Colas. He plays 12 hours of bridge a week. His calendar stays mostly empty by design. And every year since 1965, without missing once, he writes the Berkshire Annual Letter. Every year he hosts 6 hours of unscripted Q&A in Omaha in front of 40,000 people. Toni Morrison woke before dawn to write on yellow legal pads while raising 2 boys and editing full-time at Random House. She gave public readings on tour around each release. She held a permanent residency at Princeton for 17 years, building literary community and press access in one move. Then, in 1993, she won the Nobel Prize, which remarketed every book she had ever written. Darwin walked the same quarter-mile loop 3 times a day, counting pebbles on each lap so his mind could wander. He wrote 6 or more letters by hand every single day, to Hooker, Lyell, Huxley, Wallace. Those letters were both his thinking and the entire scientific press apparatus of the era. He sent complimentary copies of The Origin to 250 named scientists before publication. He let T.H. Huxley run the public debate. Jeff Bezos holds no meetings before 10 in the morning. He sleeps 8 hours every night. He opens every meeting with 30 minutes of silent reading of a 6-page memo. He refuses PowerPoint. And every spring he writes the shareholder letter, appending the original 1997 letter to every new one. In 1999, he sat for a CBS 60 Minutes feature that broke Amazon into the mainstream. In 2013, he bought the Washington Post. Haruki Murakami wakes at 4, writes for 5 or 6 hours, stops at 10 pages even mid-sentence, then runs 10 kilometers or swims 1,500 meters. He's held that same schedule for 6 months at a stretch while drafting a novel. He sits for almost no interviews. He runs no book tour. He wrote what I talk about when I talk about running as a personal artifact about the running itself, and that book did the press work his silence refused to do. Andy Warhol walked Madison Avenue every morning and recorded every taxi fare in a hardback ledger. He called Pat Hackett each morning to dictate the previous day's events for the diary. He kept a tape recorder running through dinners. He carried a Polaroid to every social event and photographed almost everyone he met. He hosted open-door parties at the factory most evenings. He founded Interview magazine in 1969 as his own owned media channel. The Polaroid photos themselves doubled as an art and press feedback loop. Benjamin Franklin asked himself every morning what good he would do that day, tracked 13 virtues on a printed grid, asked himself every evening what good he had done. He wrote the next day's plan the night before. He also founded his own newspaper in 1729, wrote Poor Richard's Almanac every year for 25 years, and built the postal infrastructure that distributed his own work, becoming Postmaster of Philadelphia, then Deputy Postmaster General for the colonies. Beethoven counted out 60 coffee beans per cup at breakfast. He composed from sunrise to midday, walked the woods in the afternoon with a notebook, wrote nothing musical after dark. He self-produced a subscription concert every year or two to premiere new work, negotiated with multiple publishers in parallel to drive up prices, and printed and distributed his own subscriber bills before each concert. Naval Ravikant keeps an empty calendar by default. He reads physics, philosophy, and math for an hour or more a day. He picks one book and reads it 10 times before moving on. In May 2018, he posted a single tweet storm called How to Get Rich that eventually became a book. He allowed Eric Jorgensen to compile everything from his tweets and podcasts into the Almanac of Naval Ravikant and release it free in 2020. Peter Levels works from a single laptop in a different city every few months. He ships one feature or one new product per week. He posts every product launch, every revenue milestone, every customer win on X. His live revenue numbers run publicly on nomadlist.com. The build log is the marketing. He wrote Make in 2018 as the Indie Hacker Handbook, and the book compounded the audience the public building had already started. 2 daily stacks separate the names you remember from the footnotes you've never seen. What was the first daily ritual you held long enough to compound?